Welcome to a brand new podcast. Ian McLean is a writer and the author of TJ's War. David Blair is an actor and the narrator of the audiobook TJ's War. David and Ian have been listening to their readers and listeners and have decided to turn TJ's War into a movie. And since the story covers the entirety of World War II, the movie will cost at least $50 million. Will David and Ian succeed in their quest? Follow them in this podcast series. We're going to make a $50 million movie.
Sincera, with the liquid chocolate voice, who are you and how on earth did we manage to get you on this podcast? We're delighted to have you here. Tell us about you.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you, Ian and David and Quinn, for being on this journey. It hasn't been that long, but right, we've had some ups and some downs and some lefts and some rights, but we've made it. So my name is Sincera Mitchell, and my background really is in acting, voice acting, and content creation. And how I got into the voice acting and acting field pretty much back in sixth grade. Sixth grade, I had my first play, and it was called The Diviners. And so I played a gentleman by the name of Basil. I forgot his last name, but he was a farmhand, and so he had the just before, but Layman died. That type of voice. And so my acting teacher, Trudy Bruner, shout out Trudy, who taught me everything that I know about acting and voice acting, really saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself at that time. And we did the play. It completely changed the school. People were so inspired that they actually made a theater, state-of-the-art theater that's here in Orlando. And the rest has been history. And so when I was a full-time voice actor, I loved it, truly, and I still love it to this day. But I did get tired of going out on auditions, so to speak. So I decided to say, if I can attach my voice to a product and then send that out to the masses, then it's me. I'm not asking for anyone's permission to be on any podcast or anything, right? And so that has led me to lending my voice to helping women, specifically soothing the soul of the divine feminine, which is all about helping women have that safe place to find that power in their mind, the safety in their body, and purpose in their soul. And I use my voice to give audio medicine for them to just have that safe place to go through the moments and the emotions and the feelings that normally they don't have a place to really talk about. So it's amazing how sometimes in life, right, you learn one skill over here and then you learn another skill, but then life kind of brings it all together into something new and beautiful.
Astonishing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both.
How did you come to know that you had this skill? I mean, I understand you've got this amazing voice that clearly you were born with, but how did you discover that you could help improve women's lives with it? And I'm not entirely sure I understand exactly what you're doing there. Are you? Is it a recording, or are you one-to-one with talking to these women? What's going on?
Absolutely. So, funny story. Believe it or not, I didn't always have this voice. So when I was younger, my voice was like this. I promise you, it was like that. And it was. And when my brother and I used to live in our parents' house, it's a running joke that when we were, we were younger, and my talk like this, and then all of a sudden I got sick one day, and literally overnight it was like, mom, where's the butter? And she was like, oh my God, Christ compel you, what happened to your voice, right? But so what I do is it really is, David and Ian, about allowing women to have the space to express oneself. There is a level of emotional toil that women go through on a day to day basis, and they don't have the opportunity to express themselves. They don't have the opportunity, a safe place to really share what they're really going through. And that's emotionally, that's mentally, and that's spiritually. And so, what my voice does, because I did it with my mom, is it allows women that safe space to really share everything that they're going through. And why that's a big deal is because even though we are flesh and bone, we're more energy and emotions than we are bone and flesh. And so when we don't have the opportunity to express our emotions, when we don't have a safe place, what happens is that we internalize those emotions, and it could be guilt, it could be anger, it could be shame, and those emotions start to eat at us. They start to actually have dis-ease. That's disease. We are now emotionally affected. And in my belief, that's why I believe there's cancer is at an all-time high, depression is at an all-time high. All these ailments, don't get me wrong, yes, food is important, but the thoughts that we think are 24/7, 365. And my mom was the healthiest person I've ever known in my life. Healthiest, worked out, ate well, everything. But she got stage 4 cancer at 53. And I couldn't understand why until, and she passed, she transcended, right? But I couldn't understand why until I started to realize how emotions manifest in our body when we don't have that safe place to express it. So, long story short, to say that, I want women to have a different ending than my mom. And I
Mm.
realized how impactful it can be when we lend our voices and our spirit to one another.
It's it's a really powerful and compelling story. I'm thinking, why stop at women?
Yeah.
There's a lot of men who are kind of trapped. They don't know the language to express themselves, maybe, and they often don't have a space in which they feel, they might want to open up, and a friend wants to help, perhaps, but a lot of men don't know how to start that. They don't know what the language of this thing is. I'm wondering if, I don't
A,
know. I
a
mean,
hundred.
maybe your skill, your talent, your thing is for men as well.
It is, David. The reason why I start with women is because everything that we see, you, Ian, myself, this computer, this pod, everything came through the portal of a woman. Everything. Every idea has come through the portal of a woman. And so it's not about helping women and not helping men. It's about that women are the beginning of it all. And
Yeah,
when we start to support them in a greater capacity, right, then now it's going to immediately affect the men, the family, the children, because I am who I am because of my mother, Janice, right? Even though you all are hearing Sincera, you are also hearing Janice. She speaks through me, she lives through me. So I wouldn't be who I am. No disrespect to my father. My father taught me the world. He taught me how to how to make it in this world, and that's just as important. And my mom taught me how to love, right? So it was the combination of them both that was impactful. But you're absolutely right. It's just starting where creation is, and creation
mm,
comes through a woman. And then I always say this, women are the portal of all creation, but men are the protectors of all creation, right? So when we come together, there is something spiritually, and it doesn't matter, Cap, whatever you are, doesn't matter. We can't deny the power of when we have unity. We can't deny when we come together in love and we're connected. It's that 1+1 = 3, right? So, David, you're 100% right. This is women are just the beginning, but families, men, women, brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, we all need this.
Mm.
I love this, Sincera. Can I just say, we find you, Sia found you or knew you and just linked us up. And this really is the universe speaking, as David said earlier. My story is, the story I've written is about TJ, who died when I was 10. So my entire life, from 10 onwards, has been about my relationship with my mother. And I am really not just the birth product of my mother, but my character, my belief system, the way I tackle things in life has all come through my mother, almost 100%, because my father was just not there. I mean, in discovering who he really was, things have changed a little, but we have a lot in common there. And I find what you're saying chimes massively with my experience as well. I still agree with David too, because I think we have a danger right now of men really losing their way as their identity through modern society, and I think that there is this need for men to open up and find themselves, and work out what their true calling is. And instead of that, I think a lot of the time, people, especially men, are feeling cornered and having to just accept their lot, or feel they have. And when it gets too much, they very sadly fall into silence and take their lives, and far too many of them. So I think what we're talking about here is massive. And TJ was a classic example of that. I mean, he had suffered so badly during the war, turned to drink, as so many of them did, and died at the age of 49 because he wanted to. He drank himself to death quite deliberately, and I think because he couldn't open up. So I think there's massive, it's just phenomenal that you're part of this team. I think it's wonderful. David Jones, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Did you want to come back on that, Sincera?
If I may, I'm appreciative of you both, because you're absolutely right, Ian. There's this stigma that's out in the public, and the stigma is, and this is again my opinion, but the stigma is that there are very few good men. Men are not there for their families anymore. Men are not there for their children. And there is just a ton of women who are great women and looking for a good man. And I break that down because there are a lot of good men out there. But what society doesn't say is, if you're a good man, right? And let's just kind of break it down a little bit if we can. A good man does not mean a man who's perfect, right? No one's perfect. But it means that he has a level of constitution and value that is grounded in the energy of protection and order. Any man who is solid within himself is going to protect and provide order. And so I don't hang out with men who hurt women. They're not around me. We're not friends. We don't hang out together. And so what society is positioning is that, well, the good men hang out with the bad men. No, we don't. In fact, most of us are doing what? Building for our lives, building for our families. We're here on this podcast, right? We're working to make a $50 million movie. We're not sitting out here hurting people. And so we have to be careful that we're not grouped in, because I also explained this is that what the other part is that, again, I understand women go through so much. Some things we'll never understand. And we didn't hurt you. I honor your feelings, and I didn't hurt you. I'm here as a supporter. I'm here as a place of safety. So a lot of good men are having a hard time now because we're not connected to the men who are not supportive, and then the women are hurt, and they can easily project that onto us. And so it's like, almost, I don't, excuse me if I say this word, but damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? So I can tell you guys very clearly, I've been hurt by women 1,000 times more I've been hurt by men, 1,000 times more. But that hasn't stopped me wanting to support them, because I understand that at the end of the day, they're not hurting me. Hurt people, right? So if they grew up in a place where their father wasn't there, if they grew up in a place where that person, that manly figure was supposed to be of safety and it wasn't, of course, they're going to walk in, they live in a world of every man is unsafe. And if they live in that world and then I live in the world that every woman's unsafe, how are we going to connect? How are we going to coexist? How is the next generation going to move forward? The answer is they're not. And so this is where I believe courage is important, to say, just because someone hurt me, right, even terribly, am I going to allow them to rob me of my life? Or am I going to say, you know what? Yes, they hurt me and I can honor myself in that hurt, but there are still other people out here that have been hurt too, and we can work together for a new world. It's not Disney. It takes work, but it can happen.
Ah, I just love it.
Do you think maybe that my healing is your healing? And in the way that you're wanting to create that safe space, their healing is enabling your healing, and your healing is enabling their healing. And in a kind of that Buddhist mantra of start with yourself, even to create that safe space around you, you have to create it in yourself, and then that reflects out, and that's reflected back to you, and so on.
Yes. That because what that does, right? We all have been hurt. We all have experienced betrayal. But the healing comes when we have the opportunity to experience the same thing, but with a different ending. And so
Oh, I love
now
it.
our brain says, oh wow, no, David and Ian are fantastic. Oh, I don't even know them for a long time, but these are men who are warm, who support. So that can't be the whole world. And then possibility is here. Then anything is possible, because we're not trapped into that world of something is wrong, right? But it does. You're right, David. And Ian, it starts with us. It does.
That's
Mm.
fantastic stuff. And you know, um, I say this quite often, and I'm not really joking. TJ's War is our attempt at world peace. It is very much an anti-war story. It tries to reflect the insanity and who are these people who feel it's okay to go around killing other people, and asking these types of questions? It's trying to get to the core of it and say, for God's sake, stop. Why are you trying to do this? This is all part of that book. And I really feel that there's a massive connection going on here. It's wonderful. And the other thing, it doesn't matter how things have gone in the past. Nothing is written about the future. Nothing. And people can change. Events do not have to follow a one step after the other. Things can change. And as long as we believe that things can change, there is hope.
Okay, we can't bypass what you just said, Ian. We can't bypass it. As long as we what? Believe. This is where we have been lied to. We have been lied to believe that we are not the creators of our reality. You didn't say, oh, if we got 10,000 people and got some shovels and built something. You didn't say, oh, if we went to school for 10 years and did a dissertation. You didn't say that. You said only we have to believe. And so when we believe that something is possible, that is the biggest step. Because how many of society and humans never accomplish their dreams, never get to the goals that they want, never find the love that they want, never meet the people, never meet their tribe, because they don't believe it is possible.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com, and to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. To accompany us on our journey, please subscribe to this podcast, because we're going to make a $50 million movie.